Welcome to the Botany Bistro, where we're serving up bite-sized botany for you to munch on as you savor the science of plants. My name's Mary, and I'll be your botanist. Today our menu includes an exploration of plants in the Juglandaceae family. Plants in the Juglandaceae family are quite numerous in my part of the world, in southwestern Ohio. I live in a temperate region, and so these deciduous trees are found in our forests and our yards. We're talking about walnuts, pecans, hickories. These plants produce very economically important nuts that not only humans but also wildlife can enjoy. Towards the end of our bistro, we will be using some of these harvested nuts that I foraged this morning. And unfortunately, we are not going to be hosting our bistro outside because there is a heat wave in my part of the world. The Juglandaceae plant family includes about 60 species, mostly shrubs and trees that are deciduous, which means that they drop their leaves in the fall and then they regrow them in the springtime. The leaves of plants in the Juglandaceae are also quite interesting. This is an example of a black walnut leaf, and it is pinnately compound, which means that this entire leaf is composed of several different leaflets. So these are not singular leaves. These are leaflets that are part of an entire leaf system. So that's one way to identify plants in the Juglandaceae when you're out in the forest, is by their pinnately compound leaves. We're going to focus on three particular groups of plants in the Juglandaceae today: walnuts, pecans, and hickories. There are different varieties and species of each of these different groups of plants. Some of them are quite rare, while others are very common. Many gardeners in this region have a complicated relationship with black walnuts. Black walnuts grow well in our environment. They're a native tree species. However, trying to grow certain vegetables around black walnuts is impossible. Why is that? Well, black walnuts, along with other members of this plant family, are alleliopathic, which means that they produce a chemical that suppresses growth for other plants. Not all other plants, but a good handful of them, especially the ones that we like to plant in our gardens, including plants from the Solanaceae family, which we'll be doing a bistro on in the coming weeks. These are tomatoes, potatoes, peppers. They do not get along with plants in the Juglandaceae. Juglone, which is the chemical that is exuded from all parts of these plants, suppresses other plant growth and will make them start to wilt. You might at first think that this wilting is just because of a lack of water. However, water will not reverse the effects of the wilt if it is due to the juglone. So if you're going to be planting around a black walnut tree, you're going to want to do some research on what you can plant there. Certain native grasses, as well as ferns, do quite well around black walnuts and other types of plants in the Juglandaceae. So it is possible, but you'll need to relocate your tomato patch somewhere else. You also want to be cautious when using wood chips that might come from plants in the Juglandaceae, because they also will contain this chemical juglone. So while it is maybe a little bit of extra work for some of us gardeners, I will say that after many years, I have come to embrace black walnuts for all the different things that they can do for us. And we shouldn't demonize black walnuts for what they do to our other plants, because plants in other families also exude chemicals to inhibit other plant growth. It's a way to decrease competition so that they can make sure that their offspring are able to colonize and grow for many years. One of my other favorite plants that's in this family is the shagbark hickory. This tree is one of the first I learned to identify in the woods, and I bet you'll figure out why. It's got shaggy bark, and that is pretty rare for many of our tree species in the woods. So you can be pretty sure you got a positive ID on this one if you're looking at those pinnately compound leaves and you've got some very shaggy bark. They also produce quite tasty nuts, which can be harvested. Bats are known to roost under the eaves of these shaggy bark pieces, and that is a very cool way to introduce some bat habitat into your yard. So next time you're thinking about putting up a bat box, I'm going to suggest that you think about planting a shagbark hickory instead. Now, these plants in the Juglandaceae tend to be fairly slow growers because the wood is very dense and tough. So it takes a while for these trees to really get to their mature height, but it is well worth the wait. Other types of hickories that you might have heard of include shellbark, pignut, and pecan. Many of these trees are very long-lived, and they can grow over 100 feet tall and live for over 300 years. So you're really planting a tree for the next generation if you're choosing a plant from the Juglandaceae family. The word pecan comes from an Algonquin word that means to crack open with a stone. And these nuts are pretty tough, so those decorative nutcrackers might not actually do the job. Make sure that you are safe, but if you are wanting to process lots of these nuts, I would suggest getting some tools together and making a day out of it. Once you crack open the shell, you're treated with the meat of the nut that you can start to enjoy, and it's packed with nutrients. Pecans contain over 19 vitamins and minerals, including vitamin A, E, B, magnesium, calcium, and zinc. They're also heart healthy and are made up of 87% unsaturated fats. Used as a coffee substitute in early American times, and also having been taken all the way up to space on the Apollo missions, pecans really are a superstar in the tree nut world. Let's get back to those walnuts. So if you have a walnut in your yard and you're struggling to plant under it, again, do some research, but hostas, daylilies, ferns, grasses, those all tend to do fairly well underneath your trees. You'll want to make sure that you do remove leaf litter and other things that fall around the area, and you don't want to be composting those parts in areas that you are going to want to plant other annuals in, or especially members of the Solanaceae family. I have used black walnuts for several years to make a natural dye. I like the rich brown color that it puts off, and this is such an easy thing to do. So what you'll do is you'll collect walnuts after season when they all start falling to the ground, and you don't want to mow over them anyway, and they become kind of a jumbly mess. Many of our neighbors are very happy when we show up with our bucket to collect their walnuts, and you'll actually want the ones that have the full green skin on them. Those make for very good dye. You could use the ones that have already turned brown, but if you can find ones that are still green on the ground, that works really well. You can put all of those nuts into a 5-gallon bucket, fill it up about halfway, and then you'll cover those with water. Let that sit for about 3 or 4 days. That water will turn a very deep brown, and you'll see maybe some fermentation happening, maybe a little bubbling. That's totally fine. After it has turned a nice dark brown, you can introduce a fiber. This is 100% cotton that I treated with alum. So first I washed it, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have any detergents on it, so I gave it a good rinse. And then I soaked it in alum so that it would hold onto that dye a little bit more. And then I let it soak in the bucket and passively dye over the next week. After I pulled it out, it has this really nice brown color. You can rinse it that way, and it will really stay for a long time. It's challenging to dye fabrics that are not 100% cotton or wool. You just want to pay attention to synthetics that might be in your fabrics that might not take the dye as well. But I think that it's a very cool color. Other natural dyes are readily available in our neighborhood, and so you could do a little tie-dye version with some pokeberries and some goldenrod. If you get into natural dyes, let us know, because we really are exploring that a lot right now, and it's been a wonderful journey. Walnuts also have a deep connection to me and my family. Every year, my family has gotten together at our ancestral property in Waynesville, Ohio. We're going to be marking our 170th year of gatherings soon. And during these reunions, it's a potluck, so everybody brings something. For many years, my grandfather would bring his famous black walnut cake, and he would decorate it with icing, and it was always a special treat to be able to enjoy that as a family. After he passed away, I was asked to recreate the recipe, which felt like some very big shoes to fill. But after some help from my grandma, I think I was able to get pretty close and even make a gluten-free version. So now it's something that's been passed down traditionally. And I've got to admit that it is wonderful to have a purpose for these nuts in your life. And so if it's something that you haven't explored, there's lots of opportunities with the versatility of what black walnuts can offer. But what are we going to make on the bistro today, you might ask? It's a little early in the season for these nuts to actually be mature. And so today we are making something with the immature nuts that I have collected. We're going to be making nocino. This is my first time making nocino, and so we'll have to see how it goes. In about 6 months, I think I'll be able to try it and let you know. But the concept is that you get these young nuts and you want them to be able to be cut. So that's why you're harvesting them when they're very young. And I can slice right through. You can see that it is not mature yet. I'm gonna go ahead and put these into a jar. I'm gonna cut up quite a bit of them so that I can fill up the jar. And then I am going to cover them with alcohol. And I have chosen a nice local vodka to use for this experiment. I'll keep cutting and adding to that. The recipes that I looked at online also include ways that you can add different spices, and you can let that all sit together in a cool, dry, dark place. So I'm gonna put the lid on this, and then I'm gonna put it inside one of my cabinets. After about a month, I'm gonna strain it out, and then I can dilute it with water and add some sweetener to it, maybe some maple syrup. It is a digestif that you would have after dinner, and I'm pretty excited about just another way for me to use these beautiful walnuts. Instead of being angry that they exist, I think that they were given to us as a gift, and we need to learn how to use the gifts that are all around us in the forest. All right, so I've got my jar of young walnuts that I've cut, and I am going to put the lid on. I've covered it in vodka, and I'll get it back out in a month. We'll see what happens. So I wanted to get a little bit experimental. So when I was out in the woods earlier, I did cut open one of these nuts because I wanted to make sure I was getting the right ones that I was going to be able to cut. And I was expecting that they would, maybe be a darker color on the inside because of the dyes that I have gotten from these nuts in the past. And wouldn't you know it, just a few hours later, look at how dark that is. It's amazing. There are secrets hiding inside plants all the time if we just know how to look. Like I said, these trees are very slow growing. And so if you are planting this, be patient. It will take about 12 years for these plants to produce nuts. Some years are much heavier than others in their production. We call those mast years. And so it's all right if your tree isn't producing nuts regularly every year with the same abundance. That's totally normal. You'll have high yield years and you'll have low yield years. I would like to thank the people at Gamble Montessori High School and the Gultra Trail group for maintaining these wonderful spaces. Thank you for coming to the bistro today. Stay tuned for more Bistro to Go.